All eyes on the border today as President Biden and former President Trump head down for dueling visits as immigration has become voters' top issue for 2024. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Kayleigh McEnany, here with my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Emily Campagno. Also joining us, former NFL sideline reporter and host of the Michelle Tafoya podcast, Michelle Tafoya, and former New York Congressman and New York gubernatorial candidate Lee Zeldin. President Biden boarding Air Force One this morning. There he is, on his way to Brownsville, Texas. Meanwhile, former President Trump, he's en route to Eagle Pass, Texas. And here's a glaring difference in the locations. Just 46 migrant apprehensions this past week in Brownsville. Compare that to over 2,100 in Eagle Pass in the last 5 days. I wonder why Biden chose Brownsville. Maybe you're looking at it. We have team coverage with Bill Malugin in Eagle Pass, Texas. But we begin in Brownsville, where Griff Jenkins is live in Brownsville, Texas, with the latest. Griff.
Well, the latest is that President Biden will soon be here at the Brownsville Border Patrol station behind me. He'll be accompanied by DHS Secretary Mayorkas, and he'll get an operational briefing from, among others, the chief of the Border Patrol and frontline border officials who will bring him up to date. And he'll learn that around 5 a.m. this morning, a group of more than 100 migrants crossed in this very area. Take a look at this exclusive footage shot by Fox cameras. You can see more than 100 migrants here being processed in a place known as Camp Monument, among them mostly Central American migrants, but some from Venezuela. Migrants from Venezuela, many of them have been criminal migrants that have obviously been tragically in the news as of recently. But I want to just talk again about the difference between Eagle Pass, where Bill Malugin is, and Brownsville, where I am. You can see on that comparison, less than 50 in this area, 0 crossings on Monday. And it really illustrates the fact that the president is coming to one of, if not the least most trafficked areas in the country. Now, I was able to speak exclusively to the Border Patrol Chief, Jason Owens, who is going to give this briefing to the president. No one knows it better, the situation. And he talked about the number that we often don't spend enough time, put enough emphasis on, and that is the gotaways, those that evade apprehension and just disappear into the dark of the country. Here is a little bit of what he had to say about it. Listen.
I know so far the known gotaways, that's the folks that we've been able to detect, but we have not been able to get to and apprehend. It's in excess of 120,000 already this fiscal year. Now, as for the unknown gotaways, it's the whole tip of the iceberg theory. It's what we don't know. It would be nothing more than a guess. I'm worried that it could be a substantial amount, but I won't know that until I have the resources and the manpower to get out there and cover down on the areas of the border that aren't covered right now.
Now, just to flash back to the fact that Brownsville was ground zero 9 months ago, May of 2023, as Title 42 was ending. Our Fox cameras shooting hundreds of migrants crossing in waves. At the time, Texas DPS couldn't stop it. But one of the reasons why this is one of the least trafficked areas is because of that Constantino wire and the obstructions that they have put up the state of Texas here to drive those numbers down. And of course, the migration has surged now out west in Arizona and California. I'll leave you with this. The latest number of crossings across the entire southwest border, more than 6,500 in the last 24 hours. Most of those are in the Arizona and California areas. We'll send it back to you.
Keep us updated. Thank you very much, Griff Jenkins. So today, President Biden to the border. He has set off a bomb, and he is essentially going to stand in the debris of the bomb he set off. But he's going to try to say, my predecessor, Donald Trump, set off the bomb. Let's fact check him on that. Here are border encounters. Take a look at this. You can see that they are much elevated around 2021. You can see it the south sector, and you can see it in Arizona. You see it in Texas. Record highs on President Biden's watch, Harris.
So I want you to notice something else about these numbers. It's wintertime. We often will see them dip down just a little bit. Remember when the numbers were higher going into January, people were freezing and they were trying to get them into tents here, and then it started to rain here in New York. So as they're coming across and ending up in our country, sometimes you'll see that flow slow down. But the place where you've seen it slow down the most is where those containers and that razor wire is, irrespective of the weather. And there's no arguing the fact that going to an area that used to be the epicenter and is now benefiting from what the governor has done in Texas, now we see the president of the United States. And I don't know if he's planning to take some sort of a victory lap around that, but just a few weeks ago, he was fighting about taking that down. Can you imagine what Brownsville and other places would have looked like still if those things didn't exist? Now, Art Del Cueto with the Border Patrol Council told me last hour that this migration now west, the cartels know. They've got detection. They know where we're putting resources. So now they're flooding people, and we're starting to see, again, undocumented minors come across. And that's happening along with the fentanyl in Arizona and now California. So Biden can run, but he can't hide. Meaning he can run for president, but he can't hide from that.
Yeah, it's the most confounding White House decision-making to me. That one, you want to magnify the chaos you've created. Two, you want to elevate your rival, because by Biden going there today, he's highlighting Trump's trip across all the major networks who would have otherwise ignored it. So you're elevating your rival, showing the American people the choice they have. But then finally, the part that is most confounding to me is if you're going to go to the chaos you set off, bring a deliverable, declare a national emergency, cite executive action, use your authority, but he's not intending to do that. What's he going to do, Lee Zeldin? The Hill says it. The Biden campaign sees Trump's hand in getting Republicans to kill a bipartisan proposal to bolster resources at the southern border as a major messaging gift for them. They're seeking to blame Trump for the lack of action at the border while tying the former president and his party to Washington's dysfunction. So this is a blame Trump trip.
Kayleigh, you're talking about leadership, delivering when you show up. What can I do? If you're feeling the urgency, you know that this is the #1 issue for so many Americans, and you decide you can't avoid it, so you decide to go to the border, show up with action. You were showing a chart of what it was like under President Trump, what it is like now, these numbers, and there are policies and an explanation that goes to it. President Trump, when he was in office, ramped up the construction of the border wall. There was no ramping up of catch and release. They were implementing the Remain in Mexico policy when Joe Biden then gets rid of it. The Title 42 policy was eliminated under Joe Biden without a replacement. The Customs and Border Patrol, they're saying keep our names out of your mouth. You were talking about that last hour.
Yeah.
Because when Joe Biden and this administration comes into office, they are attacking these great agents who are willing to sacrifice their lives to protect this country and this border.
Who does that anyway? Like,
So
seriously.
President Biden has proven that he has the power to open the border. That means he has also proven that he has powers to close it. He needs to show up with deliverables, exactly what he said.
But he says he doesn't have the power unless Congress gives it to him. Here's what he said on that point. Watch.
This bill would also give me, as president, the emergency authority to temporarily shut down the border when it becomes overwhelmed. If the bill were law today, it would qualify to be shut down right now while we repair it.
So he needs that bipartisan border deal, except fact check, Mr. President. We gotcha. Let's pull it up. INA Section 212F. Here we go. Whenever the president finds the entry of any aliens or class of aliens in the U.S. would be detrimental to the interests of the U.S., he may, by proclamation, suspend the entry of all aliens or any class of aliens as immigrants or non-immigrants. We found you the power, Mr. President. You're going to use it? Emily.
Yeah, I personally think it's exhausting to try to educate this president on the powers he clearly has. I see this as yet another offensive slap in the face of Americans, and especially those in law enforcement who are putting their lives on the line every day to defend our southern border. And it reminds me of over September 11th, when our president decided to attend a climate pledge summit in Asia. Oh, it's September 11th. Okay, where can we stop on the way back? Alaska. I'll make an announcement from Alaska. The thoughtlessness, I don't know if there was thoughtlessness behind it, but the messaging is that there was an abject, utter thoughtlessness. And the second thing this reminds me of is going to visit the troops when they are in combat situations, let's say in Iraq and Kuwait. I had the honor of visiting them in Baghdad and throughout Iraq. I got to go to those FOBs. Seeing the two of them and the choices they have made of where to visit, it's not wrong or incorrect to say you have shown up and done a USO tour and showed up for those deployed troops in, let's say, Camp Liberty or Liberty Base in Baghdad. You are not wrong. It's not incorrect. But it's not the same thing as going to the forward operating bases. It's not the same thing as looking in the eyes those troops that are in Sadr City, walking. And so the difference to me It's not wrong, but it's off. And it sure dang is offensive to me to see this president pretend or to not have the knowledge that he has power to change the situation and at an utter minimum to show support for Border Patrol.
And he should stay home, stay at Pennsylvania Avenue, sign 94 executive actions, put in place the Trump border policies, and then let's scroll it. These are the sanctuary cities, blue state mayors who have aided and abetted his reckless policies. Call each and every one of them, convene an emergency legislative session to these cities, roll back your policies because Americans are dying, Michelle.
I saw this list scrolled earlier and I was blown away. I knew there were sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. I didn't know the list was this extensive, and it is mind-boggling. And now you see citizens in Athens, Georgia, yelling at their mayors and their leaders and saying, what have you done to us? Why are you lying about this? You now have blood on your hands if you were keeping these people here. It is very simple, and it's irritating, and it is I don't get offended much, but I do get insulted when the president of the United States looks into a camera and says, Congress needs to give me power or money. That is not true. I hate to say that's a lie, but it is a lie, Kayleigh. It's flat out wrong, and he could make a change right now.
We stopped scrolling, but there's so much more.
So much more.
We just got to part of the West Coast.
We tried to wait last hour.
Let's scroll until 1 p.m. All right.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kayleigh McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.